Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life, and today I am super excited. I have got Dr. Anna Cabeca with me from the States. She's got the letters after her name, ridiculous. OBGYN, triple board certified and fellow of gynecology and obstetrics, integrative medicine, and anti-aging and regenerative medicine. She has special certifications in functional medicine, sexual health, and bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. What this woman doesn't know about hormones is not worth knowing. For the past 20 years, she's served 10,000 plus women in her private practice and millions more through her books, online videos, and articles. And I've been following you for ages, Anna, so I'm super excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm honored to be here. And I'm always learning about hormones, always learning. I think that the more we dig into it and the more that we have women in medicine demanding it, we'll start to see some real better comprehension around it.
Totally. I want to kick off by introducing you to anyone who hasn't heard of you, which is would be unusual, but please tell us about your story and how you became such a trusted hormone expert.
Well, thank you. Part of my journey, it's like you've heard the saying, your mess becomes your message. That's definitely true for me. Here I am, very well trained. I trained at Emory University, one of the best institutions in our country. And I found my doctor's bag to be empty when it came to solving hormone issues in women with breast cancers and how I can help them with sexual function, sexual health, what's safe, what's not, and what's the truth about it. What does the science really say? And I was a scientist before I went into med school, so I had that, that dire need to know, to understand and understand why. And then at 39, I was diagnosed with infertility and early menopause. I tried the highest doses of fertility meds. My husband and I, at the time, we desperately wanted to have another child, and I failed the highest doses of injectable meds with no ovarian response. I had elevated FSH and LH. I mean, all the signs, right? And my ovaries look like, shrunk up almonds. And so that was devastation upon devastation in our life. And it took me on a journey around the world, Nikki, to uncover, to understand, to uncover what are world practices. My doctor's bag was empty, but through that journey, it became filled with traditional medicines and Ayurvedic therapies and the wisdom, like earth wisdom, and also some of the world's leading scientists that I was able to interact with serendipitously on this journey. And through that, reversed early menopause, became pregnant again naturally, delivered a beautiful baby girl at age 41, and I'm 55 with a 14-year-old, soon to be 14-year-old. So I mean, like, healthy hormones is critical in my life at every stage. And so that's been part of my journey. And through that, it really opened my eyes to how I was treating my patients. I was always very integrative with a food as medicine, heal the body, mind, body, spirit. Like, I believe the body and mind cannot be separated, right? You have to heal them together. And so I had that. I just didn't have the tools. And so through my own journey and digging in and going to the research, not to the pharma, right? Not to big pharma. I was able to integrate practices and really, it came down to, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my medical education, as have many probably listening. And it comes down to how we eat, how we think, how we sleep, how we move, and who we interact with, how we love. All of those things become really, really important. And 10%, and I only say 10%, Nikki, because like I still, have the ego of a doctor. And I want to claim 10% is me, what I can do with my hormones and and my prescriptions and my surgeries. But that's just like, really, it's probably 1%. And so that's just like, that's the little 90%, over 90% is in each of our control as women. And that empowerment as a woman, when you see that what you're doing is improving your life, and and you feel better, and those around you feel better and interact with you in healthier, happier ways. That's worth more than any diploma I have on my walls.
Right, right. Oh, what a story. When you started looking into all of the pieces that you had to put into place to solve your hormone issues, what do you think was the biggest thing that moved the needle for you?
I think one of the biggest things was certainly, I'm a big believer, I have a big faith, right? I have a big faith in God. And I think that understanding some of the principles that I've been taught since I was a little girl, like be grateful, the gratitude practices, focus on the positive, constantly renewing your mind, right? The gifts of the spirit, goodness, kindness, joy, hope, all of these things. That's a positive energy. That's a high vibration. When we have PTSD, like I had trauma, it was fear. What's going to happen to my child next? It's anger. There's terror, there's guilt, there's shame, there's a ton of negative energies that come, and that spirals you down. I've been to the pits of hell, Nikki, to be honest. And so what took me out of it was honestly this positive energy piece. So that was one big piece. And also, we all suffer in different ways. And in this journey, I met other women who had lost children. And it was just in conversation, they would bring it up. I was not first to initiate that. It was like these moments of, connection, and understanding that shift where the power, and I write about this in my first book, The Hormone Fix, mandatory reading for everyone, honestly, as a woman. But the power of oxytocin, yes, over cortisol is tremendous. And that's the shift. Understanding that when I realized cortisol, fear, trauma, PTSD was ruling my life, and I was disconnected from all those I loved. It's a physiology of divorce. It's a physiology of burnout. I was disconnected from my work. Just that disconnect, right? And then doing the practices that build oxytocin, that was the most powerful thing. When I saw people that had lost an entire family in a war-torn area, that were struggling to put food on the table, but yet celebrated each other, gave gratitude to their God, and showed up in support and camaraderie, reaching out to help in kindness, and had smiles on their face. I'm like, whoa, like, wait a second, this is where our focus has to be. And as much as, and this is one of the things I just feel really um, um, compelled to bring this up right now, is that one of the things, we know this as women, we know that if we eat that, we're not going to feel good, but we'll eat it anyway. And there's a certain amount of self-sabotage that creeps into our lives with those of us with the best intentions. And overcoming that self-sabotage, for me, it was trauma, it was guilt, it was shame. And I could keep sabotaging myself because that was familiar, and I deserved it, right? I deserved to feel that way. It was that, but of course, none of that was conscious. I've done a lot of work. So, but it's that pull, where are we self-sabotaging ourselves in our lives? We wouldn't do that to our children. We wouldn't let them do it. Our best friend, her daughter, we wouldn't let that child do that to herself. And yet we will do that to ourselves. So it is a constant discipline and a practice to focus on the positive, to focus on the good, to give from my heart, to give fully. And I think that's more than, I believe in my keto green diet, and it's built into that, right? The keto alkaline, keto green way of living, because it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, it's a habit, and that empowers us to be stronger, to be clearer mentally, to be able to make the right choices for ourselves and then for others.
Yeah.
Right? For ourselves first and then for others. And when we have that awareness, when we have that clarity, when we're doing the work, when we're journaling, when we see, gosh, here I am again at this point, what's going on? Where does this come from? What's happening now? And, we've got a lifetime to figure it all out. So no point delaying it.
It's so true, though, that emotional and the physical are so linked. You need both, don't you, to really feed each other and to let them work together, because one without the other doesn't work, does it?
No, that's right. There's a favorite quote from Aristotle that says, when your body's suffering, your mind is ailing. And when your when your body is suffering, your soul is ailing. And when your soul suffers, your body ails.
Yeah.
And it's so, I mean, it's so true. And I
Yeah.
probably butchered that quote, but something like that.
We get the gist. We get the gist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me a bit more. You've mentioned the keto lifestyle, the ketogenic diets that you are a big fan of for hormone balance. Can you tell us a little bit more about why this type of eating can be so effective?
Yes, definitely. This is probably one of the most effective eating plans. And we get in a rut when we talk about keto, that keto for women and keto for men. I mean, men have 10 times as much testosterone. We can't eat what our husbands, partners, boyfriends, whatever, we can't eat what they eat typically. Okay. We really have to look at it. We are very good conservers of fuel, and we're designed post menopause to even be better at metabolic efficiency. So damn, right? So unfair. But so when it comes into the hormones that are changing that cause us to gain weight despite not doing anything different, this is a hormonal physiologic. It's not calories in, calories out, right? There's none of that. And that old, like, don't even count them. Really, it's so much deeper than that. But so when we look at a ketogenic lifestyle, we need to understand what are the things. Like, I came at this from my own personal investigation, because at 48 I gained 20 pounds, and it was despite not doing anything different. And having been well over 240 pounds at one time, losing 80 pounds and keeping it off for a long time, having that weight gain despite not doing, I thought I'd be 300 pounds before this weight gain stopped. I have obesity, diabetes on both sides of my family. And so what was very fascinating for me is like, okay, well, I went strict keto, but I didn't feel good. I felt keto crazy, keto cranky. And as a single mom, sole provider, making, just trying to make an existence for my children, that, you cannot be keto cranky. And so kids will take advantage of you. Brain fog is not your friend. Teenage girls, especially. Okay. So some people are like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So so that that's where I started the alkalinization. I tell more of the story in the Hormone Fix, but that key part of adding the fiber, the microgreens, was essential. And the alkaline practices, such as the gratitude journaling, the walking, the, enjoying nature, all of those things that come to increase oxytocin, the most alkalinizing hormone in your body, to counteract cortisol, the most stressful hormone in your body. So when I got into this combination, I had this brain clarity, and I call it energized enlightenment. I had the peace that surpassed all understanding, because nothing in my external environment had changed. The world was still spiraling. I still had 3 teenagers, had to get to 3 different schools every morning. I still had to do it all myself. And I had this peace. I had this joy. My daughters are like, you're smiling again, like, and they were smiling, and they looked at me in my eyes and said, Mom, I love you. And like, where did this come from? It comes from you. It comes from your energy. And so that was huge. And so what I understand now, and I write about this in my second book, Keto Green 16, because it was still like that research hadn't come out yet. But women, our brains in menopause start to have become deficient or insufficient in the ability to use glucose for fuel. And our brain is the organ in our body that sucks up sugar the most, glucose. Gluconeogenesis in the brain is hormone dependent. According to the research, estrogen, I surmise that it is really progesterone. And I loved your podcast on progesterone. Y'all got to listen to that one. So progesterone, and because progesterone is a neuropeptide, a neurohormone, it is protective for the brains, the bones, the breast, right? And our beautiful hair and all these good things progesterone is good for. And so when we start losing progesterone, we become inefficient in our brain's ability to use glucose. But the use of ketones for fuel in the brain is not hormone dependent. So we use ketones, and it's like putting jet fuel in our brains compared to glucose, which is like gasoline. So we get fired up, clarity. And women, as we go through menopause, we know we're hormonally at risk more for diabetes, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, almost exponentially increases in menopause. I actually have a diabetes masterclass. We'll give you a link for it, Nikki. I did it in preparation for my new book coming out, Menupause, because I want women to know like what our risks are, because we really don't address pre-diabetes and diabetes in women at menopause and in perimenopause and well beyond, because these little things that we do, little shifts that we make, like the intermittent fasting, the no more snacking, that creates more insulin sensitivity, but we have to do it the right way. And I know right at the beginning you asked me, well, what about keto? Like a long answer for a short question.
Can you just, in case people hadn't heard of keto, not quite sure what it is, can you just go back to basics and explain what it is and how you do it slightly differently?
Yeah, absolutely. Because a ketogenic diet is often just, you'll see images of like bacon and butter. Now that's not bad, but that's not the healthy way to go. So we really look at a high fat, moderate protein diet and low carb. We really need to get below 40 grams of carbs per day per women to be in a ketogenic state. But it's more than, so what does ketogenic state mean? That means using ketones for fuel over glucose so that the blood sugar is nice and stable and you don't have a circulating reserve, but you have maintain a healthy level of blood sugar, but yet your body digs into the fat stores to get ketones to use those for fuel. And so either our fat stores or from the fat we're getting, if we're not bringing in dietary carbohydrates or sugar, our body's going to get it either from the fats we're bringing in or converting the protein to sugar, or from our fat stores. And I prefer we get it from our fat stores. I've got extra, right? I've got extra. So the way to get into ketosis is beyond that. We want to use our own ketones. And so that is through the intermittent fasting, sometimes extended fasting, but definitely becoming more insulin sensitive and having less circulating glucose. But we need the right carbs. We need fiber. I mean, there's so many people who are ketogenic diets and are very acidic, tremendously constipated, and have other health issues that come up. And for women, we'll start gaining weight even though you're not getting carbs. And we definitely can't risk that. So I'm always big on testing, not guessing. So there are blood markers that I like to see patients have and monitor, as well as checking your urine pH and ketones. And now after Dr. Perlmutter's new work, checking your uric acid.
Yeah, yeah. And so, are there any groups of people that are not particularly suited to that kind of diet, do you think?
The way I lay it out in the Hormone Fix is safe for everyone. It really is. Now it's just like take your time in getting there, but the food plans, the menus, the recipes, they are safe for everyone, but there are sometimes we hit a resistance. So
Mhm.
in Menupause, I created 5 different menu plans to pause something else that may be a roadblock. So for those of us with autoimmune disease, for clients with maybe Hashimoto's or MS, then we want to do the keto extreme plan. And that is an autoimmune protocol. And so that reduces all the nightshades. Sometimes the nightshades are problematic for us. And then from there, going into a plant-based plan is the second plan I put out. And the plant-based plan is really rich in fiber and greens and alkalinizing blood, plus quality protein, because my plant-based eaters often aren't getting enough healthy protein and fat. So I show them a good idea of what that looks like. And so each plan is 6 days. I also have the carnivore plan because sometimes we can't digest the grains, or we have reactions to them because we have such an issue with our gut microbiome, our digestive enzyme production. So this is kind of around the philosophy. And the other reason for the plant-based plan is also to move fiber through, is to relieve constipation. And if you have irritable bowels, et cetera, I mean, it's a really good break. I mean, it's a really good break, really healing to the gut and the microbiome. So we should see a lot of improvements with that. And then I have a cleanse plan, is the fourth plan. giving your GI tract a rest. So with smoothies and bone broth and teas, and we've had my clients do it in my girlfriend doctor club, and they loved it. They loved it. They're like, I don't know that I can do it. And every one of them made 6 days. And
Wow.
so, and then the final plan that I put in is a carbohydrate up plan. So adding in healthy carbs back, like some rice, some sweet potato, because we can get so fearful, so restrictive for so long that sometimes adding carbs back helps us sleep better, have more energy, you know, lose more weight. I mean, it's so amazing to me. It's incredible.
So we've
So
got
these are
you've got the
different things I've
five
had to do.
you've got the 5 eating plans, but they're all 6-day plans, yeah?
Yes, each one 6 days.
How do we know which one's right for us? You obviously you've got all that in the book, but just
Yeah,
let us know, how do we choose?
I think in general, it's good to go through them all because, and see what's right for us now. But I do have a Menupause quiz that you guys can take. So we'll give you a link for that quiz to kind of see, okay, what plan might be best for you. But even without the quiz, I kind of ordered them in a way that I think that makes sense for us. And we'll be running through that in my live Keto Green community, doing that after the book's released. And we'll just be kind of running through the plans. And one of the big things is that uh, with like when I think it's just important in general to take pauses. And the reason for the 6 days, Nikki, is because our gut intestinal lining, our mucosa, regenerates every 72 hours. So in 2 cycles of 72 hours, removing, pausing, one of the, maybe most critical foods for us can give us that enough reset to rebuild back, a healthy gut mucosa. Certainly
Wow.
with the cleanse, I definitely see that. And certainly we can do that with fasting and bone broth fasting too, in a shorter amount of time. So 6 days I felt like was the minimum amount of time to see how do we feel with the switch. And then you have the seventh day of rest.
Wow. Okay. And so once you've been through the 6-day eating plans, is there a maintenance kind of program, or what happens then?
Yeah, so I like them to go back to the Keto Green 16 maintenance plan in there, or the one in the Hormone Fix. I have a 21-day maintenance plan, but kind of starting to understand, okay, what suits you and really being intelligent about it. And we'll probably build that out together in community as I get more people going through the plans to see what they need. I mean, this is how each of the books have been written. Okay, what's the next step, right? And so I'm very interested to see it in Keto Green in general, the basics of a healthy fats, high quality protein. Women, we need enough protein, and low carbohydrate, dark leafy greens, and alkalinizing herbs and spices with intermittent fasting and no snacking, right? It is, I mean, I think that's standard. Now, what do we need to do more? Do some of us need to be more plant-based? Do some of us need to be less plant-based, to be more carnivore-ish for a while longer? And then let's reintroduce and see how we do. We don't ever want, like, it breaks my heart when I hear people and they can only have like 3 foods.
Mm.
Then we've done something wrong, right? We haven't healed the underlying issue, because if we can rebuild the gut mucosa in 72 hours, we can rebuild the digestive enzymes, your body's ability to produce digestive enzymes and or add back digestive enzymes. I mean, we should be able to have the diversity that we need once we repair the damage that's been done. And so we have to see, okay, where do I feel best? Or maybe we just, we're doing good and we just need these pauses. We can do a pause a month and just integrate that in, see how we
Yeah.
feel. Yeah.
I love the fact that you recognizing that there is no one size fits all for everybody. So, we all have different biochemistries within us and different reactions to things. So we can try these different things to see what suits us best. And it's all about that, isn't it? In personalized medicine, it's all about testing things on yourself, investigating your own metabolism and working out what's best for you at the end of the day. So I love that.
It is. It is.
What
And it's so true. And one of the things, Nick, I want to mention, because sometimes we're eating the same thing, the same health foods every day, and that's created a problem too. So I always joke and say, if you tell me you're eating chicken salad, like I just shake my head, you're eating that every day for lunch? No, that is not good for you. I got to stop that right now. So I've got great recipes and all this other kind of fun, good stuff. But eating the same thing every day can cause a food sensitivity. So really wanted to be sure to change things up.
You just called me out right there.
Did I? Oh my God. Are you a chicken salad eater every day? No. Put steak on it. Put shrimp on it. Put even tuna on it. Oh my gosh.
Not
Oh
every
yeah.
day, but it's so easy when you're busy to kind of fall back on the same things that
It's
you like, and they're in the fridge, and it's just easy, isn't it? That it's healthy, but you're so right. We need that diversity. Otherwise, the gut's not going to function properly, and the body's going to go, what, this again? And
it's so
yeah.
true. I see your exercise bike in the back there too. I mean, I see like if we did the same exercise every day, we know we need to change things up. We can't run at the same pace. We have to go faster, go slower. We have to lift weights. We have to do flexibility. And so that's kind of the theory behind the, cross training your GI tract. Yeah.
And
Cross
working
training
on
your
your
diet.
mind as well as your body. It's like a huge jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? We've got to put all these pieces in place to make the whole thing work. So I'm totally with you there. I'm just going to ask you very quickly about menopause around the world, because I know you've traveled a lot and you've done some really interesting research on how women experience it differently around the world. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. And I put in recipes from around the world too, because like, traditional medicines and foods came from, you know, um, medicinal for medicinal reason. I mean, like garlic. I mean, who would ever pick garlic out of the ground and eat it unless it had a medicinal purpose, right? And I love garlic,
Oh, it
but
tastes amazing
seriously,
too.
like who came up with that, right? Like, but the physicians to the king were their cooks. And so, like, I look at herbs and spices from around the world. Of course, we know the power of turmeric and garlic and, even like dandelions, right? Some of our best medicines came from research on plants or plant-based medicines, even some of our chemotherapies. And so, I mean, it's really fascinating to me that a lot of our standard medicine completely ignore, plant and herbal based medicines. And because that's, I mean, because those can't be patented, to be honest. I'm not going to get critical here. But we need to think as physicians, certainly, and as patients outside the outside the box. And I almost don't want to block us into the terminology of patients, right? We are individuals that are in collaboration with our physicians for our own best health. And so it's not just tell me what I need, right? We really have to get into that ourselves. So that empowerment piece, and I love what you do around this. So menopause around the world, and through, understanding different societies and cultures, and seeing that there's not often the stigma in many cultures that we have. Like we evolved to be honored, revered in many traditional societies, and you have to look at why, what they do, and they go on, like Native Americans, a vision quest, and in different higher spiritual roles. I mean, if we look at the spirit, the history of the church, many of the women who founded hospitals and were hospitals and homes and orphanages and all of those good things were post childbearing ages. And you think that's like wisdom, that's essential wisdom. But where many cultures, like I love the Japanese, because when I heard, of course, they have like 90% less PMS than we do, 90% less menopausal symptoms than we do, or, and is it just that they don't complain, or they're not experiencing it? They're really not experiencing it. And so they have a philosophy that the word for this time of life of menopause and beyond, or postmenopause, it's called konenki, which means second spring. And I love that. So if we
Wow.
breeze through menopause into the second spring of our lives, I
How
mean,
much
what does
nicer
that
is
look like
that?
for you?
How much nicer is that than post-menopause, which makes you feel like some old useless crone, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. It does. And then
Second
what's the
spring.
images we've been fed of
Yeah.
women who are older, bent over with a cane, pointy nose, lots of sagging skin and wrinkles. And what is our image? And I go back to this because I'm going to be a grandma soon. And it's like basically what I found out, like my body gained 15 pounds. And then I was like, wait a second, what is going on here? And it may, I think a part of it was like, what's my vision of a grandma? And I think, of course, of my mom. And she was just like, she passed away when my firstborn was just, just a year and a half, but just think about how much love she had. She was fluffy and overweight, and she was very diabetic. That's why she passed away. But like, was that my image of like these heavy, cute, warm grandmas that are cooking in the kitchen for all the grandkids and everyone else? Was that my image? And all of a sudden my body's like, oh, I know how to get you there. We've been
Yeah.
there before. I know how to get you there. So I have to completely, part of my discipline is seeing myself as very athletic with them, riding horses with them, taking them on, European vacations, right? So have to shift my mentality, and that's a lot. That's like, okay, where's the self-sabotage coming from? It can just be, from
Yeah.
a idol that doesn't really serve us. We do not need to emulate some of our old, our own biases, or
Or
um,
even just the memories in ourselves. That's what
yep.
we've just been developed into. So yeah, very, very fascinating. Unfortunately, we haven't got time to go right into that. Well, although I could talk to you all day about that. Um, I can't wait for your book to be available here in the UK. I'll pop the date in when it is. Any final tips for women going through menopause right now? What would be your top 2 tips for them right now, apart from get your
Yeah,
book, which I will tell them to do
thank
anyway.
you. Yeah, thank you. And thanks for that. Hormone Fix and Keto Green 16 available now. Menupause available April 12th for sure. Hopefully for pre-order in the UK a lot sooner. My number one tip that comes to my mind right now, especially from our discussion, is that gratitude journaling. Before you even open your eyes in the morning, not even having to journal, but to think, where did I see love? Where am I loved? What am I grateful for? And really focus on the positives, to shift your physiology right from the moment you start, from before you open your eyes in the morning. And creating that habit helps you improve oxytocin and decrease cortisol. It really shifts your physiology for the day. So that little shift is really important. The second thing that I think is really important for women is to do that intermittent fasting of at least 13 hours between dinner and breakfast. And yes, all of us can get there when we really start to balance our hormone physiology, balance our blood sugar. We won't have the cravings. So 13 to 16 hours of intermittent fasting between dinner and breakfast. And that gives our body time to rest, digest, and regenerate, restore, rejuvenate, right? To repair itself and to rejuvenate so that we are healthier, you know, through our second spring.
And burn fat as well while we're going. love that
Yes.
love that benefit too. Oh, Dr. Anne, it's been so lovely to talk to you. Well, you're full of wisdom and gems, and we could talk for much, much longer. But I honestly, I think your book's going to explain an awful lot as well. So please go out and get that. And I'm very, very grateful for your time. And thank you so much. And I hope we can have you back again at some point.
I look forward to it. Thank you. And thanks for all you do. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.